My name is Parker Fertig, and I'm a student at the University of Central Florida. I'm relatively well off for a college student. Not only did I get into my first choice university, but I earned the Florida Academic Scholarship, which pays for the entirety of my tuition. All of that was possible not through natural intelligence, not through hours of study, and not through long nights reading. In fact, I almost never did the required readings for my school projects. All it took was a series of assignments, readings, critiques, and revisions that greatly enhanced my literacy skills. Over the years, my writing process has become second nature. The more I write, the easier it is to translate my thoughts to words, and the better I can understand my own identity and thinking. Sharpening these basic English skills has enabled me to write a college essay persuasive enough to get me into a great college, and an SAT essay informative enough to have scholarships pay for it. Literacy skills are by far my most useful skills, and they've already made a huge positive impact on my life as a whole. My literacy journey started earlier than that of most children. Before I was in preschool, my mom would buy laminated letter tracing sheets and have me trace letters with dry erase markers for hours on end while making their respective sounds. While my hand-eye coordination wasn't quite good enough for me to write legibly yet, the letter tracing exercises gave me a head start on letter and sound recognition. When I reached preschool and kindergarten, I had a pretty good grasp on small, simple, three-letter words like cat and kid. At the time, these lessons made a noticeable difference in my literacy skills, especially when compared to other kids who weren't as privileged and didn't have a stay-at-home parent who could devote time to teaching them after school. In this way and others, my heritage influenced the early education I got as a child. My mother came from a huge, poor family in upstate New York. Since she had so many siblings, her mom didn't have enough time to give at-home reading and writing lessons to my mom and her siblings. This made my mom become very studious at school, since she saw learning more as a privilege than a chore. But it had the opposite effect on me. Since my mother was so excited for my academic progress, she forced me to take lessons all the time, many of which redundantly taught me the same things I learned at school. In this way, my family's history with literacy made me lose the excitement of learning and see it as a waste of time, not worth my effort. Because of my lack of interest, my skills started to stagnate, and by the time I got to middle school, my skills were about on par with, if not lower than, that of an average student. When my mom got a full-time job and couldn't give me extra lessons in person anymore, she made me do long, excruciating summer bridge workbooks every weekday during the summers, which I always hated. Maybe it's because I'm biased against them or wasn't in the right mindset to learn from them at the time, but I don't think these ever improved my literacy skills in any way. All the positive feelings that my mom as my literacy sponsor had helped me associate with reading were completely undone by the summer bridge books. These books made literacy feel like a chore, a series of steps I was forced to take that never led anywhere. This experience echoes Morris Young's concerns about the recontextualization of literacy in the classroom. He writes, "The classroom becomes an important site to recognize and generate student self-determination. Too often, the classroom has been constructed as a site for reproduction." These summer bridge books were the epitome of literacy for the purposes of reproduction instead of literacy as a tool for self-determination. I never wrote to express myself. I only had to copy text from the book back onto the page. Because of this, I began to see reading and writing as these awful roadblocks in the transfer of information rather than as tools that can be used artfully to invoke emotions that would otherwise be inaccessible. Because of these books, I despised reading, writing, and literacy as a whole. That is, until I discovered an interest in comic books from the school library. The mesmerizing art and thrilling superhero stories tricked me into appreciating reading, storytelling, vocabulary, and writing styles in a way I never had before. Because of my comic book obsession, most of what I was reading at the time was dialogue, which seems to have greatly inspired my somewhat casual dialogue-like style that I write with today. The way I write has become very similar to the way I naturally speak when explaining or presenting something. My writing style has also been greatly influenced by specific reading and writing assignments, most notably the Tropicana speech. The Tropicana speech was an annual, statewide writing assignment for which every student had to choose a topic and write a speech on it. The speech had to be delivered in almost exactly 2 minutes, which meant you had to think about how your sentences would sound out loud as you wrote. Writing long speeches every year with spoken language in mind has made my writing feel noticeably more natural and speech-like. While the informational Tropicana speech assignments made my words sound much better to the reader, they also had to make sense and get the desired point across. My many persuasive writing assignments, especially for my high school debate class, forced me to fine-tune not just the tone and vocabulary of my writing, but also the structure, rhetoric, and emotional impact on the audience. Hearing other students' writing helped me view my writing from an outside perspective and gauge how it might sound to an audience. That class taught me how to manipulate an audience so well that every time I had to write a book report, I could just skim a couple pages of the book and craft an essay so convincing that my teachers could never tell that I hadn't actually done the reading. This was extremely useful for summer reading essays because those were always worth a significant grade, but I never wanted to spend my summers inside with a book. That debate class had a bigger impact on my literacy journey than the rest of my schooling combined. Not only did my writing need to be strategic, concise, and effective, but my listening and comprehension skills had to improve as well. I needed a keen ear to understand what my opponent was saying, analyze it for flaws and weaknesses, and fire back with an effective defense in a matter of seconds. Due to my competitive nature, I became highly invested in winning these debates in front of my classmates and teacher. Focusing on the competition and the end goal of persuading people rather than the long, boring writing process reignited my passion for writing and opened my eyes to what I can accomplish with it. I was no longer reading and writing for the sake of reading and writing. I was, for the first time ever, using my literacy skills not in the service of themselves, but in the service of my own personal goals, which in this case was winning debates. I have the debate class to thank for my ability to write sharp, poignant sentences that help me negotiate in real-life situations, like acquiring freelance clients and performing job interviews. Additionally, the introspection required for the writing process clarifies the lens through which you view yourself. There is so much inside of you that you'll never notice until you're looking inward, searching for what to write. As Robert Scholes writes, "Our knowledge is itself only a dim text that brightens as we express it." This quote resonates with me on a deep level because so much of my identity was a mystery even to me until I started writing about myself. I've always been overflowing with thoughts and opinions about everything, but I never understood them well enough to explain them effectively, much less defend them against scrutiny. Writing has instilled in me a greater understanding of my own thoughts, including the knowledge necessary to share thoughts assertively and defend them effectively. My identity can now be more outspoken, confident, and involved due to what my writing process has helped me discover about myself. For me, the mastery of my own language was, as Morris Young writes, the tool that he desired so much and the opportunity to construct an identity. I'm Parker Fertig, a student at the University of Central Florida. I've been extremely fortunate in my college journey, gaining admission to my top choice university and securing the Florida Academic Scholarship, which covers my entire tuition. My path to these achievements didn't rely on intelligence, studying, or talent. Instead, it was built almost entirely on a strong foundation in basic literacy skills. Writing has become second nature, and expressing my thoughts on paper has grown progressively easier. Focusing on these fundamental skills has empowered me to craft a college essay that secured my place at a great institution and a 1430 SAT score that is worth thousands of dollars in scholarship money. My literacy journey has empowered me to discover, define, and develop my thoughts, my life, and my identity in ways that I never thought possible.